Hey guys, let's see. 5 people on. Oh, I see Chris and Flimsy made it. You could make it. I knew you took a nap the last time. So, Chris, have I been experimenting with YouTube thumbnail? Not much lately. I mean, this one is just a very generic one. So, um, I'm trying. I'm trying to get better with all this stuff. All right. Hey, Mark. Can someone just let me know that they can hear me? Just type yes or something. How do I feel about IPOs after today's joke? Oh, hey, thanks, Rich and Mark. Appreciate that. I think that dying on day one is probably going to be something I'm not going to be doing much of. So, hey, thanks everybody. I'm glad you guys can hear me. It's something else too. I know that this is I think our third live stream. We haven't done many of these, and I'd like to do more. But I know the first one we had some issues as far as it getting hung up with the stream. So hopefully we won't have any problem. I think last time it was fixed. Hopefully we'll be good. If you guys have problems, let me know. It's hard to sometimes keep an idea on this chat. But I see we got 19 people on, and I'm going to just give another minute or two to see if anybody else jumps on before I just talk. Basically, my plan is to talk a little bit about what happened today, the joke, as it was called already, and then we'll sort of just take, basically questions you guys have. It's really more of a discussion for you guys. So just try to cheat here and take a look at the chat a little bit. All right. This is the way. Is that a Mandalorian reference? Yeah, it's just crazy. Really crazy. All right, we got 24 people. Hopefully we'll get more. And if we don't, that's fine. I'm just glad that you guys made time to jump on. So Airbnb, this is one we've been waiting for a long time, and it was crazy. So we know what happened, going into the week. We had initial expectations, which I thought were, I knew it would trade higher than the initial $44 to $50. I knew it would trade, higher than that. I was probably thinking 70 to 80. When they started updating when they definitely started updating the prices, I knew I was priced wrong, and I just felt like that. And it comes out, prices at 68, and then we are, we open at, what did we open at? 146. And basically went up as high as 165 and settled down and in that mid 140 range. And the first thing I'll tell you, and I say this, we did this with Palantir after their first trading. We had a live stream, and the price is really what the market's willing to pay. And so obviously there was a lot of demand there. Do I feel, that the price is too high? I might personally feel that, but I can't say for sure because people were willing to pay for it. And I don't know if anybody else on here has already has bought it, and if you did, definitely share that. And again, I want to tell you with the chat, it's hard for me to keep up, and I know sometimes there's a lot of comments. I'll try to get what I can. One of the things you guys are more than welcome to do, and you don't feel obligated, is we do have the super chat, and that definitely gets my attention if you guys do that. Help support the channel, but don't feel obligated. But anything you can do to help the channel, and just being on and watching the videos helps support the channel. Hitting that like button support the channel. A lot of things you can do, and we're just at the crest of 10,000 subscribers. I can't even believe it that we're at this point. So, and I always said to myself, if we get to 10,000, I'm gonna have to really look at what I can do to focus more time here. So I definitely plan to do that. But anyways, before we get into some of the questions that you guys have, this week, if you watched the IPO this week, there were 6 companies that I knew were coming out, and I know Upseller has come out, it's going to come out now, and that wasn't on the video. That is probably going to do well. These other ones did, well. This was a really good week. There's not really one of the bad ones. The only one that I was probably knew from day one I wasn't going to be interested in was DoorDash. And hopefully you guys saw that video. It's not that I don't like DoorDash. I just don't know how it makes money in the long run. And so that was the only one like I just couldn't see, even though I can see the interest in it. But the rest of them were really good, and they all popped. Hydro Farm was one I really liked. I never really got to dig into what I thought a good valuation was but I like what they do for the future. I know I've talked a lot with some of you guys in the comments, and what I thought about that one, and it's just unbelievable. What they did as well today. So we have Pubmatic. C3.ai I thought was the big one this week. I mean, it wasn't the biggest one as far as total money, but when I saw what it came out and then looked at it yesterday, it settled at 92, and I thought, should I chase it? And I thought, no, I'm going to wait. And then it goes up another 40% today. So anyways, it's just crazy. So let me jump back to the chat. I see it's a lot going on here, and I want to keep up with you guys on this. And we'll talk we'll go at least a half hour and, a little bit longer. It depends on what kind of questions you guys have. I see a lot of familiar names, and it's really great to see you guys here. I saw, Richard, you said you FOMO'd and should have waited at 154. You know what? I always say this. If it's a company you really like and you believe in and you're willing to hold long term, it's hard to put that price because you can miss out. I mean, and you can literally miss out and it can go up. One of the things that I've tried to talk about, and I say this because I really want this channel not to be a fan site channel. There's a lot that they pick their, I don't know how many Tesla channels there are out there or Neo channels where they basically just have everyday type of video and basically just rah-ing it. And I'm just not going to do that. But what I can tell you is when you think there's a company you really like, and you think it's high, it's maybe not the worst thing to go ahead and buy it, but maybe not go jump completely in. So if you had in your mind you're going to put $3,000 into a company, maybe you start lower and just sort of watch. Because what we know with IPOs in general is they tend to have pullbacks. And we know there's different times where we can see those pullbacks. And, that's really what I try to share with you guys. As far as we talk about the quiet period, when they end, a lot of times there's a little bit of a jump. So right before the quiet period ends, it might be an opportunity to get in. We also know in anticipation of lockups, prices tend to drop, at least some. Sometimes they drop really big. And I've thought about really doing a video on an example that I did personally, which was on Beyond Meat. You guys probably have heard that one, where it just all rose crazy. I didn't buy, I waited, lockup happened, dropped, got in cheap. And then, sold and made a decent money on there. So 154 is what it is. Who knows where it was going to go to. So again, I don't criticize anybody for what you buy. IPOs are a little corrupt. Direct, I like the direct listings. I like them in a lot of ways because you don't have the whole drumming up of the business. So I want to go back to C3.ai because again, that was the one. I like Airbnb, as you guys have watched my video. I liked it. I like the company. Wasn't sure in the near term where it's going to go. I think there's going to be some, there's going to be some pressure on it from the next couple of earning reports, and I think that could cause a better entry later. But C3.ai is when it's a smaller company, and it's obviously I don't probably understanding it as well as I do like a DoorDash or an Airbnb because that's something that we can tangibly do, But with C3.ai, they left a lot of money on the table. And this is what with IPOs, like which you don't consider or people don't always understand is, so that, it gets priced, whatever the pricing comes. And I think for them, they end up being in around $42 or something. So that's what actually they raised. The institutional investors bought it, $42 a share. The price then jumps out of the gate. It's around $100. That money is not going to C3.ai. Now it can help them. The more their share value is, that does help them in a way, but the money is really, it's in a flip from the institutional investors. So it is sort of, corrupt's a tough word, but it is hard for people that are not tied, did not have ties with the institutional investors. And when you're in that situation, you have to figure out what your strategy is. And again, that's why a lot of times, even though I cover IPOs and I'm very interested in them, I love knowing what the new companies are coming out and basically, because I just like seeing the technology or what they're bringing to the market. But I don't always feel compelled to buy them on day one. And some I really like, and I probably have paid a little bit more, but any more I try to stay away from that because I know that there's going to be opportunities. So I play the game. I know it's going to come down. When more shares hit the market with the lockups expiring, that tends to drive the price down a little bit, if not a lot. So corrupt is tough. 68, they told you. Yeah, Denny. And it just as some numbers for you guys. You guys probably see some of this, but back in September of last year. So this is before the pandemic. They had a market cap of about $31 billion when it came to a private valuation. In April, it was down to $18 billion. Today, it hit the $100 billion market cap. And, you're thinking from, it was down as low as 18 in April. And again, we understood why things were really bad, and people didn't really know what the vaccine situation was going to be like. And there's a lot more positivity going forward right now. But what we do know is, 100 billion is a lot for a company that is probably facing some tough areas. And so again, my feeling is you have a couple periods of earnings that are going to be rough. We've seen in this country, in the US and in Europe, more lockdowns have come into place again. It's going to restrict some of this travel. And I just feel like it's going to hurt. And I think if you look for the long term, you might be fine. I think we saw that with the market in general this year. People, the second quarter earnings were not great, but people kept still buying the stocks and the market kept going up. So if people see a bad earning report and the guidance is good from Airbnb, they might stick with it. But I do think there will be people that will probably look at potentially selling and think that the price is going to drop more. So I think there's going to be opportunities to buy at a lower price. No guarantee. But I think that 6-month period is probably where I'm looking at, because again, you're getting close to lockups that are going to be happening. The environment should start getting better. And I think before the, I'm trying to think what quarter that would be reporting on, probably when they would be recording on the second quarter would probably be when I would look to get in. That's just my thoughts. Again, no, I don't have a crystal ball. All right. So RFL, so hello. Yeah. Yeah. So a little bit, I personally, I can tell you, I just think that the price for me is probably higher than when I would buy in. That doesn't mean it's high. It just personally, I just feel like it's going to be an opportunity later. One life, one chance. Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate that. When I get feedback from you guys, it really does mean a lot. I do put a lot of time into the channel, and I'm not some insider. I don't claim to ever be an insider with information. So I try to, put the time together. But really, my goal is to share the information first. So when I do IPO this week, I know a lot of times people get frustrated. They want to know, is this a buy or whatever? And again, I always tell you, I'm never going to tell you to buy something or sell it or hold it. But I'm going to give you the information, and I might give you some thoughts on it. And I always tell you that's just my opinion. So the information is the main part, but it's really what you do with it. And I think most of the people that subscribe to the channel understand what I'm about at this point, where I'm not going to tell you just to buy it. I'm going to give you some of the information and then lead you to that. And I'll discuss it with you. You guys are really good on the comments of talking, and and I really enjoy it. So thank you. Everybody in Airbnb should trash the play. Oh, I don't know about that. Richard, yeah, that volume was crazy. You know, SPACs. Oh my goodness, you just see, this is where I get in trouble with these chats. They start to move on me here. SPACs, you know, I had a lot of questions or a lot of suggestions earlier in the year to start covering them. And I did do some videos where I did cover them a little bit. I've not been good at that, and I'll be the first to admit that. Part of it is there's just been so many traditional IPOs. You know, we had a couple direct listings with Palantir and Asana. Those ones I can do more for. I feel like I can dig more information out. SPACs is a lot of, you know, if you're going in before there's a merger announced, you're really depending on the management team and what they're targeting. So you really got to do your homework there. You know, if you see a Peter Thiel involved, that's definitely going to be one that's going to get a lot of attention and interest. You know, and there's been so much focus on Pershing, Bill Ackman, you know, with his SPAC. But to me, like, I don't know what more I can tell you other than say guesses. And so I haven't been really good with that. Now, there's been a couple of videos I did where we talked about some of the mergers that had happened. And, you know, the views were not great on those. And again, not that it's all about views, but I try to definitely do things that people are interested in. And, but I made a video, it talked about ETFs, and it talked about SPACs and IPOs and basically how you can invest in new public companies. And so to me, SPACs are riskier than IPOs in general because you don't get to see all the numbers. You're really trusting the management team. And again, that can work out, but I've not ever, never have bought a SPAC. There's a couple that I have on a watch list, but haven't really bought anything. So, Denny, what are your thoughts on Dash? I mean, can I just take away? Yeah, Just Eat, I'm not really familiar with them. Somebody else mentioned that on a comment this week. This is my biggest issue with DoorDash. Whereas Airbnb, you can argue about the money and the model, but with the model, I have an issue with DoorDash. And if you saw my video at the end where the analysis is, it's to me, it's hard for me to understand how they make the money, because of the margins. But you do have the competition. It's one thing if you have, you don't have the competition and you're the only game in town. And if, as you just mentioned, Just Eat or Uber Eats or Grubhub, if they want to get aggressive, the margins can even get tighter. And so I just don't see it. And I want anything that makes people's lives easier. I'm all for. I just don't know how the model works where everybody gets their money. I mean, when a restaurant is giving up 30% of an order potentially, I just think eventually they're going to hire their own staff person to do a delivery. And, because orders have gone up, so I think they're going to do that. That's just a personal thought. I could be wrong. It's just hard to believe that you could do that. You're the first one to mention C3 on this channel. Where's my shout out? I don't know how to pronounce that, but I see it all the time. I know Jay Schwatt, if I'm saying it right, 93. I like C3. The reason, I did not get them on that big holiday edition, that preview edition, was it was really just two things. One is I knew they were going to be coming, but I didn't know it was going to be as immediate as it was. Maybe I missed something. The other thing was the video was already getting long. And so I sort of made a cutoff of who were the true unicorns that were going to raise at least $1 billion. And just as a heads up, I just saw that, one of them that we talked about in that video was Wish. And not a lot of interest in Wish. And that's okay. I mean, I go by the votes you guys give me. But they looks like they're coming out next Wednesday. And I'm just curious if Roblox in a firm will come out next week too. If they want to get in before the end of the year, I think this is the next week. So next week could be a busy one, but the only one I really am pretty comfortable in saying right now is Wish. So we're going to keep a look on that. Busy Bones. Neo. Neo, I know that's so much interest in Neo. And I just haven't really myself. I've been spending so much time on these traditional IPOs lately. A lot of that stuff has got something I'm not real up to date on right now. Position. Tell me about AI stock. Again, I think C3.ai is potentially the big one of all the bunch as far as the potential. And again, I say that because we've been hearing for years how artificial intelligence is there, and the fact that they're focusing on an enterprise business. And I don't know if there's a lot of true competitors that they have. But what makes me feel pretty solid with them, when I see Microsoft going in there, it's very similar when you think about what Berkshire did with Snowflake. You know, when companies sort of go in and they're going to get their own placement, their own concurrent placement of shares. In Microsoft, to me, that's a pretty big. I think something that tells me, like, you know what, if they're in with them, I'm not sure. I think Microsoft is just a phenomenal company in so many ways. I just think that C3.ai, and it being a smaller company in the first part, like the potential to make more is there because it is smaller cap. Now, I believe that the cap, you know, which is probably over $10 billion where it's trading now. I don't know if it's ready for that yet, but I think it's. There's not much not to like about that. Palantir, we'll definitely talk a little bit about Palantir, Amon, because I know there's so much interest there. And I'm just curious to see how. I know so many people watch Palantir, and I get the toughest comments from people that like Palantir. They think I'm too rough on Palantir, and I'm not. You know what I always say, and if you guys have watched me, is I like the company. I think they have a niche that they've exploited better than anybody else, and they're not new. I mean, they're not a true startup. They've been around since like 2003. When it comes to their government business, to me, they sued the Army. They sued the Army and still get contracts. I mean, they're solid there. And I know this week they had the FDA. You know, they work with the FDA, so this is not a new contract, which is not a surprise because, again, government. I think they've been with the FDA for over 10 years, but this is an extension. Another $44 million, and insignificant. And and I've talked about in other videos about what I've wanted to see, and I'm not going to go through all that again but we know where Palantir was trading. We know for the first month it was around $10 a share. And the thing for me is I just keep thinking about what's changed that makes the price all of a sudden triple. And the only thing that was really seeing, was the news of who's holding it. And one of those was George Soros, and of course now he says he doesn't want it because he doesn't agree with it. But some of these holders, that these big names where you think, okay, if they have it, that's, just like with Microsoft with C3.ai says, okay, that's, they're giving their affirmation that this is good, I'm in with them. But some of them have held it for many years. And so my only concern, and again, this is about, going back to the quiet period ending, when those end, there's generally a bounce because people start giving research reports on how the company's doing. And when you start hearing these names, I think there was just an overreaction. That doesn't mean I don't like Palantir. I just think there was an overreaction that it just jumped up so fast when the fundamentals of what hasn't really changed. There's been some extensions of contracts, mostly on the government side. The only one that we heard that I'm aware of, unless you guys can share it for me. The only one I know is that there was the aerospace one, and I don't know which company. There's only so many of those, but that was a renewal of a contract, so that's good. It wasn't a new customer. It's an existing customer. So I just would like to see that, because while the government business is solid, the potential spend, there's percentages, but the government I mean, there's a lot of money in the U.S. government that's being spent. I know some other governments have some contract with them too, but the growth just from the government is not going to keep the growth that people want to see. Like when you're talking about, new revenues, you're just not going to get that. Now, having said that, you're having a lot of solid revenue coming in from the government with a customer that probably is pretty sticky. That they're not looking to easily switch away. So, I like Palantir. My concern, and this is again what I do at the channel, it's not a fan site. I like them, and I've been called negative about them. It's not that I'm being negative, because when the market was going crazy, like down in March, I was positive. Now my channel didn't exist then, so you guys wouldn't know that. But when things go up crazy, then I might come across as negative, but it's just coming from the perspective of somebody that started investing right before the dot-com bubble. I saw what happened in 2008 with the financial crisis. And I just try to share that because when I look at the demographics of the viewers of the channel, a lot of you guys are younger. And it's just trying to share that perspective of not getting too high with the highs and too low with the lows. And so it might come across as being negative, but it's really not. It's just more to give you something to think about. Because at the end of the day, again, I'm not telling you to buy it or not buy it or to sell it. I'm just telling you some of my own thoughts. So if you like those thoughts and you agree with them, great. If you don't agree with them, that's okay too. I'm happy to discuss it, and I could be wrong, and I'm always able to be convinced. So I like Palantir. I just feel like the run up was probably too fast for me. And again, I also know you're talking about lockups, like we talked about. We know that that's out there, and so you can easily discount it, and it could be a very small blip. But you just want to keep an eye on what's happening as we approach the lockups. More than likely, the price will drop a little bit, but if it maintains close to where, a month before the lockup happens, that could be a sign that the current owners of all those 80% of shares are feeling, and again, mostly insiders that have those shares. If they feel like they're going to hold on because they think that the future is looking good, or maybe they're aware of some potential more business coming and they're not selling, that might be a sign for you to say, I'm ready to go in. Again, maybe you've already went in, but if you haven't, like this could be a sign to go in or add more to your position. If it drops, that could be a sign that the company, the insiders feel like the company's not doing well. But to me, it's really how much does it drop? Because you have to keep in mind that a lot of insiders, they haven't had a chance to cash out on being involved with Palantir. And this is an opportunity for them, because a lot of them didn't necessarily even buy the shares. They, that was part of their, early on, giving equity as part of compensation. And so this is their first chance to get money. So you can't blame somebody for selling some shares. So if there's there's going to be a little bit of sell off. There is, with the lockups expiring. The question will be how much. If you see it go way down, that could be a little bit of a red flag, or it could also be an opportunity to really get it at a much better price. Again, which is what I did with Beyond Meat. If it doesn't drop much, it still could be a buy. So you just have to look at it and to do that. So when I go to 30 and I say, I'm a little bit nervous about that number, it's not that I don't like the company. It's just that you're taking you're just taking in the near-term pressure is what I'm saying. There's a downward risk there. So, all right, guys, I can talk a little bit. Sorry about that. Let's see. Jenny, Palantir's long-term greatness. Yeah, I do like them long-term. And so that's the thing, when people get frustrated with me on Palantir, just last point on that is I like them long term, but just know that there's going to be some headwinds, and it's the lockup expirations. And it may not be a big headwind, but it's one that's out there. And then of course the whole fast rise to the price, that some people will look at profits. Many people will remember this. The people that have been with me for a while, that were on the last live stream. I was asked point blank then, do I think that was a fair price? And I did at the time. For Airbnb, I can't say it's not a good price. I can tell you, I think it's high. I didn't feel that way about Palantir at that time, based on everything that I had looked into. And again, I like the idea of the direct listing because there's no extra dilution of shares. There's no new shares being created. Airbnb, it just seems high to me, but it may never drop. My guess is it'll drop some, and I'll look for a later opportunity. Thoughts on SPACs versus IPOs this year and next from BusyBone? Oh, that's a good question. I still will look. Boy, these things move on me. I'm sorry, guys. This is what happens with me. You guys, I really appreciate the comments, but they start to move on me. And I already forgot what the question was. I'm just trying to scroll. Oh, thoughts on SPACs and IPOs versus next year. I'm still going to probably focus more on the IPOs, just because, again, there's more information I can give you. When there's a big SPAC or one that I think is more interesting, or I get pulled into it, I'm going to focus on it. I expect, though, to see more direct listings. That's have been a fairly rare thing, but there was a change in the market when it came to the rules with NASDAQ and New York Stock Exchange, where it used to be you couldn't raise any money with direct listings. It was really just to get your shares out so that your private investors could start getting some liquidity from the shares to be able to trade them. Now there is a rule change that they can actually raise money now. And with that, I really feel like it can happen. And I've said this, and I think I'll make a video at this at some point. I really think of all of the ones that we know are coming out, and there's an Instacart, and we're waiting on that one, Robinhood. Robinhood's the one I think they need to do a direct listing, and I'm probably gonna make a video on that. Not that they'll listen to me. All right. So let's see here. A little bit on Accelera. Yeah, Accelera is one I just, with all this hoopla of everything else, I really haven't looked in that much, but again, you got Peter Thiel involved. I think it's gonna do just fine. There's this Pershing one. All right, guys, I'm getting way behind there. The screen's jumping on me. How many people are holding Palantir long-term? I bet you there's a lot of people, because I think holding Palantir long-term makes sense. And you got to remember, guys, I come in from the perspective of a long-term investor in most cases. I'm not trying to flip a stock. Roblox will be one I have a video on. I'll have a dedicated video. I started putting that together a couple of weeks ago. Again, I was thinking that they're going to come out next week, but I've yet to see a range on them. That usually tells me it's imminent. So they were actually just waiting from some information on China as far as working with their partnership with Tencent. That apparently has gone through. So I really expect this to go. Chris, Palantir talks with Colombia, Japan. Yeah, and there's probably things that I'm not necessarily aware of. So, Michael, do you think Airbnb will go down to $100 per share? I don't know. I mean, obviously, the higher it goes, you start thinking, what's the bottom? Like the bottom becomes higher, once it goes up that much. 100 would probably be wishful thinking. But I could still see it happening. I just don't see it happening in the next couple of weeks. It's just a question of how patient you are willing to be. And as I try to tell everybody, I can be patient. And so I think there's a chance it's probably not getting there anytime soon. I mean, but again, this is one thing I don't know. Do I think it would trade that high at $100? I did not. So I thought it was gonna be around 75 to 80. If it goes to what I think, then it could go under 100, but I don't always know. All right, I'm going to start jumping here a little bit. Soros is the devil. That's probably because I mentioned him. Palantir quiet period ends. Oh, it ends, what is it? The third day after the earnings are reported for the fiscal year. And the fiscal year ends on December 31st. But remember that the earnings won't be reported until after that. And if we go by, and I don't know if it'll follow this, their last earnings, which came out on November, which was going through December or September 30th. That could have been delayed a little bit because of the election. But let's just say that they followed the schedule. My guess would be then early to mid or February when the earnings will come out. So you don't want to just wait for the lockup. You don't want to just wait for it and think, okay, turn the switch on. People will start being ready for it. And so if some people are looking to capture some profits, they're going to start looking a little bit weeks ahead. So keep that in mind. Let's see. Flimsy. I have to say, I do want to give a shout out to Flimsy, and he's been with me as long as anybody. So I'm glad to see him out there and input it. There's a lot of familiar names on here. And Chris, I know you were the first one that did here. I mean, I really enjoyed a lot of the comments with a lot of you guys. And again, I hope we can continue to do more with the channel. So any way you guys can support it. I'm going to look at probably some other options of what we can do. Ad revenue, I have monetized as of September. That's not a huge amount. So the question for me is how much time can I devote to this and everything else? If it becomes more sustainable on a monetary thing, I can put things in there. One of the things I do want to do, and I don't know if anybody's mentioned this yet because it keeps running around. One of the things, and this is a legit feedback criticism I get, is on the audio on my videos. And I just want you guys to know, I've tried to fix this a couple of times. I got a second microphone. The first one I thought was a good one. It was, a lav one. I got a boom mic, the next one. It just didn't even work. So they sent another one, which still didn't work. So I have a third one coming, a replacement, and I'm waiting to see how that works. But my idea, hopefully, is if the channel does well, and it starts helping pay for itself, I'm going to invest into improving the audio and things like that. So, anyways, just want you guys to know that. Wow, it's already 22. We'll go a little bit longer here. Richard, can you tell us what positions you hold now and it just jumped on me, what you added? Okay. So I think I shared this with some of you guys before, maybe in the comments. I can't remember if I did on a live stream. I'm very much somebody that looks to buy. My strategy has changed over the years. I tend to look at companies that have that moat, as people say, where there's really competition is very limited. And the times when I buy vary. So for instance, when things were going down in March, I was buying things on the way down. And I'm going to tell you a couple things that I do own in a second here. Lately, I'm not buying too much because, again, everything's going up. Now, in these times, I will dollar cost average ETF funds, which is really the majority of where my money is. Individual stocks to me is like a little bit of what you play with. It's not always a great investment strategy, but anyway, so I look at companies that really don't have a lot of competition. And so some of them that I do own, and I'll tell you one which ended up being a mistake. I didn't think it would be a mistake. I bought last year on some of the news where Boeing was having issues. I bought them when they were around $329, and they were up almost $100, probably $80 from that before this whole pandemic happened. To me, again, there's only so much competition for them. So that was a company, and they were down on their luck with the Max. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to wait it out, and it's going to do well. I bought shares as low as in the 90s when it dropped, so I'm actually doing okay with them. It's not a company I want to hold necessarily forever because I'm not sure about this whole Max strategy, but that's an example. I own Match.com in their group because they pretty much have it all when it comes to this kind of apps. They've done very well for me. Amazon, bought that on the way down. I think I got it around $1,600, earlier this year. Not a lot of shares, that's pretty expensive. But pretty much doubled within a few months. Now it hasn't done much lately, but those are the kind of companies I look for. Of the new IPOs, there hasn't been many that I've really felt the need to jump in. The only one that I just recently got into was Maravai Life Sciences, and I'm not telling you should buy it. I just felt like when I looked at that company, when I did an IPO this week, I really liked the financials to that company. It's not so much that they completely have that, they act like a monopoly, but I just feel like there's a lot of opportunity there. And the fact that they didn't price crazy, I thought it was something. So I waited a couple of weeks. I just actually got in them this week. And I'm hopeful in the next couple of weeks they're going to jump up. So those are some of them. Tesla's one I own. Tesla's the one that I cannot justify. I just can't justify it. I bought it also in the spring when things were down. And this is before the split. I think it was in the low to mid 600 range when I bought it then. I think it went as low as 450 and I didn't buy it. And this was after kicking myself the summer before when it was as low as 175. And I kept finding reasons why I was waiting. And, and it goes something to be said about, if you like a company, you should just go. And I didn't. When it started it went as high, I think around $900. It started falling with the pandemic in the 600 range. I got some there. Would I buy Tesla now, though? No. To me, Tesla is one. I like the company for what they do and really what they can do beyond cars. Like that's really what I really like. But it's not a company that I would buy at these prices. And it doesn't mean you can't, because if you think it's really good, it's going to do more, go for it. But I try to buy it when it's cheaper. So I like growth stocks, but I try to use a value approach to it. I try to find them when they're at a good price. And I did it with Visa just recently. Visa was down only because MasterCard had a bad earnings. So I took a chance. Within a day, it jumped up like it went up like $30. I think I bought it around 180. So again, those are the kind of companies I look at. So IPOs are sort of a small area for me for actual investing in them, especially right away. Like I said, Beyond Meat was probably one that when I really learned the value of understanding lockups. And again, I think I might just do a video on that. I think it would just be really great. I'm sorry. Cody, you bought at 152. Don't, if you like the company, and again, you're willing to hold, I think you'll be fine in the long run. It just, you might question how long you want to, if you can deal with it going down some. You really should buy with the thing. Too many things make it easy to buy and sell really quickly. And I think that some of the new trading platforms, sort of make that so easy that it makes sense. And of course, there's no transaction fees. A lot, it used to be if you bought one share or 200 shares, you paid the same amount, and that sort of dissuaded you. So really, I think if you think a price is high, I'm really big into just going in a little bit and then watch it a little bit later. Like with Airbnb, for example, if it does what I think it will do, where it'll have some bad earnings and it has lockups coming and it goes down. I really like the company and I'm afraid, I would buy some, now, or I might wait a couple of days and then keep more and just watch it. But if the price continues to go up, but I see the guidance becomes better, the earnings are better. Well, once we get past this potential risk of the pandemic, hurting their business potentially worse than we think, and see how some of these regulation types of things are going. To me, I'd rather buy it at a higher price when those negative things are out of the way. But again, I'm probably more conservative when it comes to investing than some of the guys, just when I talk to some of you guys in the comments. So it's something to keep in mind. Let's see. Oh boy, you guys are moving around on it. I mean, not you guys with this chat. Just, what's the next big IPO in that pipeline? I said we know that the ones we've talked about, the unicorns. I mean, to me, I think the next biggest one will be Instacart. As far as getting a filing, we know Roblox is coming out, and we know Wish, which I think is going to be next Wednesday. But as far as that, Todd, I like this question. Any thoughts on cannabis? Because this comes up a lot. I had this good discussion with my friend who did buy like some of the big ones. I think it was Aurora. And my belief on the cannabis industry is, well, I think the market's huge. There's a reason why I would not invest in it. And it's because that they don't have a product that they own, that they patent. So now, which basically means is anybody can grow the plant, and you could say, well, my efficiencies are so much better that I can make it work. Okay, well, you have to do that. Your margins will probably be tight because you have a lot of competition, and again, I just feel like it becomes marketing, and even if the regulations come up, like you have a regulatory environment, it's just not an industry that I think is one I would invest in. Now, having said that, the support industries, which is one of the things I liked about Hydrofarm, first of all, I think hydroponics is the way of the future when it comes to a lot of agriculture. Now, it's not going to replace big time agriculture, but with the population of the earth continuing to rise, and there's only going to be so much farmland, I mean, vertical farming is the future. So a company that like Hydrofarm, who, whether it's cannabis or any types of crop, can actually support that by giving the supplies. Like, to me, I think that's where you might want to look. And I know Flimsy, Flimsy Indo, I know you had mentioned a company that's something like that. When I know we talked about, I can't remember off the top of my head. I was really interested in. So if you want to share that with these guys, you're more than welcome. Let's see. Oh boy, all right, let's go a few more questions. Busybone, is Roblox a buy? I always say it all depends on the price for me. So I might like the company, and I like so many of these companies. I think Roblox, here's what I like about Roblox. And I'll share this in a video, but it's a little preview. They benefited from the pandemic, the stay at home. So the idea is, for a lot of these stocks, is once that ends, do people go away from it? And I just feel like with gaming, there's an addictive quality to it. And I think that it will hold more than maybe some other industries. So we talked about DoorDash, and will people keep ordering out as much for delivery? I think people that do it still will, but I could see it being less. But maybe potentially a lot less for some people. With Roblox, I don't think that. The users, I think, are going to continue. So let's see. Oh, like Grow Generation. Yeah. Thanks. All right. Let me think. Snow still has room to run. Snowflake is another one. I thought that one was overpriced, and for a little while, it had its range, and of course, it had a really good earnings report, which was no surprise. I like Snowflake. I do. I do have some issues with the potential cut. That it depends on Google and Amazon and to run on their infrastructure. But to me, Snowflake is one of those opportunity stocks. Like, I'd like to own it. I mean, there's thousands of stocks I'd like to own, but the majority of them, if I can't get them at a price where I feel comfortable, I'm going to do okay with, I'm not going to buy them. And right now, Snowflake could very well double in a year. And you could say I missed out, and you would be right. But I see some downside that just for me personally, I'm probably, staying away at this point. Now, who knows when the next pandemic will come, or you can get things on the cheap. If anything else, I would say, like, in the spring, I was buying things on the way down, and we got near the bottom, and that's when things started to come up. And there was a couple that I just I got, well, it's going to keep going down, and I didn't buy. And then I thought, well, it's going to recover, and then so there was times where like Microsoft, and I really decided I was going to buy Microsoft. I didn't. Google was one. Google is an expensive stock. It was probably around 1040 at the time, and I held off, and it's about 1800 now. So it probably was the slowest of the bunch. But again, that's what my sort of strategy is. So right now, there's not a lot of buying going on for me because I think everything's too good. I'm waiting for the overall market to pull back. That's just my thought. So anyway, guys, that gives us about 10 minutes at the top of the hour. Let me take one quick look here before we call it a thing here. Busy. Can't wait to go back to the restaurant, have a glass of wine. I'm with you. Like I am somebody that could I would leave my house, like I could stay in my house one day. By the second day, I was already getting cabin fever. And for some of you guys that have been with me for a while, you know that until this year, I was doing a lot of traveling, and now I'm not doing that, which is really what has let me be able to do this channel. But it's been really hard, but it's something I've adapted, and actually this channel has probably helped keep my sanity. So, but I'm with you. I love eating out. I'm saving a lot more money. My credit card bills is a lot less than it ever were. So, Denny, there are 1,000 stocks I'd like to own. Yep. I wish you could get them all. Huh? Yeah, you got, and I know with crypto, we'll get big when crypto is something I just haven't looked into enough to really have a way to talk about that. And if I ever do and understand that, I feel like I can be helpful, I'll do that. So anyways, guys, I'm going to go ahead. It's been about 50 minutes, and really appreciate everybody joining here. And again, really hope the channel continues to grow and the support that you guys have given us. And again, just everybody was able to jump in and talk. And if there's anything I can ask you guys to do is when the videos come out and you see them, whether you agree or disagree, definitely send a comment. I'll definitely take those like buttons. Those things really help as far as getting the channel to rank. Had a little issue with the Airbnb video. It didn't do as well as I thought it would have done. And I think it's because there's a lot of competition out there. So you may not, I know a lot of people on the channel really, because of Palantir have been with us. You may see some of these other and not really be real interested, and I get that. But anytime you can just watch a video and you check it out for a little bit, and that helps me. And again, the more I feel like this channel is beneficial to you guys, the more I'll do with it, and the more it continues to grow, I'll do more. So that's really what I would do. And again, the discussions, and I have to apologize too. I'm really, you guys, most of you know this, I'm really good at trying to stay caught up on the comments. I really try to answer every one of them. Sometimes YouTube notification doesn't get to me, so if I've missed you, it doesn't mean I didn't want to answer. You can always ask it again, probably on the more recent video, and I'll tend to see it that way. So I got caught up on a lot that I missed about a week ago somehow. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream. Really, again, thanks you guys for sticking with me, and we should have some more interesting IPOs next week. So for now, have a good day, and I will be talking to you guys soon. Take care.